It feels so long since I've actually had to stand up for a video that like I don't even know how to do this anymore. Like I stand up for a living and my feet hurt, but I've got my drink, which is my obsession. I keep showing everyone my cup that's got Bucky on it and all of his words, the star and Bucky Winter Soldier on it. This cost me $50. I'm going to use it for the rest of my life, and I'm on a random tangent, but introduction to the video. So guys, I'm really excited because I'm going to do my wrap up for the month of September, and I'm excited. I read 5 whole books. Like, I'm very shocked at myself that I managed to get to 5. It was also the magic of readathon, but I'm going to make a separate video to like explain a couple of things that happened during the readathon for me, because I completely threw my like TBR out the window and changed a lot of things. And I also made a journal, so I'm going to show you my journal. So there will be a video that will come out for that next week to explain everything and just do a bit of a check-in with how it's going, because I still have to do all of my character prompts, which I will definitely do before next April. Like, I've got quite a few months to do like a little monthly TBR there to figure it all out. But I read 5 books. If I would have been able to read 5 books a month every month, I would have been able to read 60 books, but I'm still only at 24, so like yay. But like, let's get into what I read. I'm excited, I'm really happy with my progress, and I really enjoyed all the books I read this month, so like, let's do it. Okay, first I read Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert, and oh my good god, this book was so good. I have to admit, Chloe Brown wasn't my favorite book ever, and I was kind of a bit hesitant to continue on with the series because I just wasn't really a big fan, and I had to put the book down for a little while before I picked it up again, and then I really did end up enjoying it in the end. But it was a rocky start, but my god, Danny gripped me from the second I started reading it. I am obsessed. Like, I loved Danny, and I also loved Zafar. They had such a cute relationship, and I also buddy read this one with Paige from Pages with Paige, so I will link her down below. You definitely should check her out. She is such a great person, such a bubbly personality, and I definitely would like to meet up with you again post Hamilton, because we saw Hamilton together in May, and then I've moved, lockdowns happened, and everything's kind of happened, but I'm sure we will make it happen. Totally on tangent. I'm just in a very tangent mood today, but I really did enjoy this book profusely. I definitely recommend totally, because it's got fake dating, it's very fun, but I also really like the way Talia Hibbert writes such like realistic characters and stories, and it's just so good. Please read them, they're so much fun. And then I had to follow it up with actor Eve Brown as well, and oh my god, I thought Danny Brown was going to be my favorite, but this one just like threw it out of the park. Like, oh my god, like Eve and Jacob's relationship was so cute, because we had some hate to love, and even though Chloe and Reed had this kind of like hate to love thing, I really felt it way more with Eve and Jacob. And there's also like that really like fun banter, and I feel like I really related with Eve as well though, because like I'm still living at home, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, and I'm just, you know, trying to figure it all out. And like, I have moved house, but I'm still continuing to live with my parents because it's just so much easier, and I just find it better to be at home. And I feel like the only reason I would move out is if there was someone that I was going to live with, like a roommate, or if I had a partner that I was going to move out with. But like, I don't really know what I'm going to do with my life, and it can be very stressful. I loved watching Eve try to figure it all out, and there was lots of ups and downs with this story. Like, literally, she hit Jacob with her car. Funniest thing ever, even though boy was hurting for a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. And it also makes me really happy because way back at the start of the year, I made a video about 5 series I want to finish and 5 I want to start. I haven't even made a dent on the series that I want to finish, but this is one that I wanted to start, and I finished the whole trilogy this year. Like, I'm proud of myself. Like, I feel like I overachieved because I just said start, but boy, I finished. I did it. I finished the whole thing. But like, loved it so much. I highly recommend it. Now I'm anxiously waiting for when she releases her new trilogy of books, and I'm pretty sure involve characters from this book, and like, give it to me. Okay, the next book I read was One Last Stop by Casey Quiston, and I'm so glad I finally read this. Like, I've been anticipating this book since I heard that it was coming out after reading Red, White and Royal Blue, and then I didn't pick it up when it first came out, and then it took me forever to finally buy it, then to finally read it, and just like, I'm just so happy. And especially too because I ordered it online and then my copy didn't turn up, and then I bought it in store and then I got a refund, and then it turned up like 3 weeks later, and I'm like, so I've got 2 copies, but I also have 2 copies that are different sizes. So I'm like, oh my god. So like I was gonna unhaul one, but then I'm keeping both of them right now because I need to figure out which copy is gonna match red, white and royal blue so that I don't have like an extra thing that's gonna be annoying on my bookshelf. I do have to admit, it took me a little bit to get into this book, basically because it just started bam straight away with a whole whirlwind of characters, a whole lot of world building, a whole lot of plot, and I had to try and keep up with it, and I totally loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and like, yes, I really did enjoy red, white and royal blue more, just because the element of having it that it's the president's son and the Prince of Wales fall in love, and like the audacity of this relationship being amazing. I loved it so much. Like, of course that is my absolute favorite thing, but I really do think that the point that stuck to me is when they realized that Jane was stuck out of time, and then they had to make this whole mission of trying to save her. Like, that's the point when it got really exciting. But there's also things that happen in this story that like I had theories for that did come true, which is really exciting. And it's also just the fact that you're trying to learn more about Jane and trying to figure out what happened, and then how the characters just become so dear and sweet to me, and there were so many relationships I was rooting for. And honestly made New York sound like the coolest place ever. And honestly, there's always been a part of me that thinks it would be amazing to live in New York, but also it seems like it would be like a very crazy whirlwind place, and I'm such an introvert that I don't think I would be able to fit into the world there. Like, I would just be a hermit in New York, which just would not help. But I definitely want to go there to experience this firsthand, because like every book and every movie that's set there just makes it sound so cool. But I'm so glad I finally read this. Again, the love story is just so pure and sweet, and I just really loved it with my whole heart. And I just loved August so much. Like, she seems to get like a lot of anxiety about certain things, and again, I related to her so much with like so many things that she was doing. And I also liked that it became like this murder mystery segment as well, which was really cool. There's just so many things to like unpack with her, and the same as like how Jane kept remembering things about her life, and she just became this so like whole person of just like, she was so cool, man. Like, because she was obviously a lesbian in the 70s, and she was at riots, she was fighting for her rights, she was just tough AF, and I loved her. Like, I loved them together, I loved them apart, and the story was just so good. It was just so good. I highly recommend. Honestly, my biggest achievement this month is I finally picked up Queen of Ruin by Tracy Banghart. Like, you guys would know that I have been going on about this book like a lot. I wouldn't say a lot, but like, I was mad at myself that I didn't pick it up, because obviously I loved the first book, and I am a little disappointed that the first book was a 5-star read but this book was a 4-star read. But like, it still had a great payoff, I think. Like, I just found that with this book, everything just happened like way too conveniently. Like, there was only 300 pages for them to get from like how stuffed up everything was to like semi better. So obviously they were gonna have to cut corners in the plot and force things along, and obviously a lot of bad things were happening, and at some points I was like, oh my god, like, how are you gonna get over this? But then it just worked out. Like, it was just like, okay, it's good now, we're fine. So that was the only thing that really irritated me. I still think that the characters really did develop beautifully. Like, I love Serena and Nomi so much, and how they came together, obviously, to see each other in this book, but then they were apart again, and obviously they're separate POVs, and we get to see their journeys individually. But I definitely think like watching them both grow, like Serena into more of a leader, and Nomi really figuring out how she feels about women's rights and what she wants to happen in the world. And oh my god, Malachi, I just love him so much. He was totally like a bit of a bad boy, a bit of a villain, but then once we get to start to know him more, especially in the first book to this book, like, obviously he's still tough as shit, but I loved him so much. And then we have Val, who was just such a sweet little baby, and he just like literally follows Serena around like a puppy, but like, they have the cutest relationship, and he cares about all the women, and they all like him because he's like this really nice guard. But like, it was so much fun. Like, I really enjoyed this. I'm so glad that I finally finished this duology, and it's like, I've put a close on this story, and it's like, yes, because I seem to never finish things ever at the moment. So like, the more I do finish things, the more I'll be happy. And the last book I read was an audiobook, and it was Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, and like, I am so proud of myself that I finally finished this book. I had to look at my Goodreads, and I started this book in June, so it's been a long time coming. It's been a long process to get through this damn book. I don't know what it was, but like, when I wasn't reading this book, I couldn't be stuffed. I couldn't pick it up, I couldn't continue, I couldn't care less. But when I was reading it, I was happy to keep listening. I was happy to kind of keep going along with the mystery to figure out what was going on. But I just was so mad at myself that I couldn't seem to pick this up. Like, I also listened to One Last Stop half on audio, half reading physically, so I even had to put this down again to read One Last Stop and finish that off. And I had all this time in the world to read this book when I was commuting for a whole month, 40 minutes each way to work, and then I literally kept listening to music, and it got to the point when I had like 10 work days left, and I was like, if I don't listen to it now, it's not happening this month. And I didn't even get it done. Like, I still had 40 minutes of the audiobook left to read, and then when we came to do an inspection on the house, I was trying to listen to it in the car, but my parents wanted to talk, and I'm just like, no, it's the last day of the month, I just had to get this book finished. And then it was actually kind of cool because I only had 20 minutes left, and then there was a 20-minute interview which I didn't listen to, and I probably should, but like I was just struggling to get through this book at the end. But I have to say, like, I really did enjoy this. This was a really good and well-written book. I really felt like I learned a lot more about like the Latinx culture and stuff, which was really, really cool. And I liked that they did have like the magic of it, of having the brew halls and the brujas, I think is how they say it. Like, they said it to me so many times in the audiobook, and I feel like, I don't want to get the pronunciation wrong, but I probably have. But I really did enjoy the story so much. I love Yadriel and his story of trying to get his family to accept him. Like with Julian, like, he was such a great character. He was such a like burst of sunshine onto the page, and he's dead, he's a ghost, but he felt like the most alive character in this story. Like, he is just so crazy, he's so out there, he's so like just bright. Like, he felt like a golden retriever sometimes, but also just like a lightning strike onto the page. Like, I really enjoyed his character. But he's also like the most protective person, and it was really hard for him being in the ghost form when he couldn't actually help anyone. He couldn't help his friends, he couldn't help his family, he couldn't help Yadriel most of the time. And I just loved how they became friends, and then they became something more, and they really started to feel for each other and like each other. But of course, Julian's dead, so like, what are you going to be able to do? And also Maritza, I just want to say, she was boss AF. Like, I enjoyed her so much. She's such a great character. She's such a good friend to Yadriel, and I just, like, I loved the whole story. But I do like the way that it interweaved this mystery of like someone's doing something bad here, because they talk about this ritual that you can do that's like really bad, and it was kind of like, okay, so there's this ritual, Julian's dead, someone else has died, because like Miguel, who is like one of Yadriel's cousins, also died at the beginning of the book. So it was kind of really fun for me, because I was really trying to figure out the mystery, and I had a character that I had pinpointed for who was going to be the person doing the bad stuff, and I was completely right. I felt like after I read Lore, I was losing my touch a little bit, but like, no, I've got this. I am totally good at picking up where mysteries are happening. I'm sure everyone else who has read this book totally picked it up as well, but I just enjoyed it so much. I feel like I've just gone on like the biggest talk about stuff for this book, but like, I have to say, like, I really do enjoy it. I just had to give it one less star because it couldn't captured me completely, you know what I'm saying? I'm so happy with this progress. Like, look how many books I read. Like, look at what I've done. Like, I'm so proud of this. I feel like I got to like 3 books that I was really keen to like get to, because like with One Last Stop, I only bought it recently, so I'm really proud of myself for getting to something that I bought recently. But I also feel that like I've actually already read 10 anticipated reads this year, so that means that there's either 10 books that I've bought this year, or I've listened to the audiobooks. So like, I'm reading a lot more newer books, even though I have a lot on my backlist that of course I need to read. I just haven't gotten to them yet. Well guys, that is all for my wrap up today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm just so excited that I read so many books, but also like the fact that I'm standing, I keep twitching around. Like, when I'm sitting, I feel like I'm more contained. I'm not really a person that I need to have like something that I'm doing all the time. Like, when I'm at work and I'm standing at the checkout, I'm just happy to just stand there. Like, I twitch a little bit, but like, I don't know, it's like when I'm filming, I just feel like running around and doing random stuff. But guys, I do hope you enjoyed this like kind of semi-chaotic video. I'm just really excited to be filming in my new house, even though there's like so much crap behind me going on there, but we're not focusing about that. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!